I want to give a hello and a welcome to everyone who's joining today's winter webinar session that's brought to you by KRA Corporation. We're going to give just a moment here while folks are still joining from the lobby for today's webinar, and then I will introduce today's topic and then hand it over to our speakers. But again, we want to welcome everyone who's joining. If you're on the East Coast, it's the noon lunch hour. And if you're on the West Coast, like me, it's still morning. And maybe you're having just finished up some breakfast and are joining us here today. And we are excited for today's topic and excited to have you here as a part of this session. We definitely want to hear from you throughout today's session, so feel free. We have some questions in the chat that we'd love for you to begin responding to, but also throughout. Our speakers today are going to open it up for Q&A and throughout the chat. So again, want to welcome all of you as you're joining from other parts of the country. Let us know where you're joining us from, your organization, and we'd love to hear from you throughout. We can also move forward to the next slide. I'll introduce today's topic. All right, so today we're going to be talking about culture and really, most importantly, moving from concept to culture and building a thriving employee experience for your organization. Our speakers today are going to walk you through not only the key elements of that topic, but the experience internally here at KRA over the last several years. I'm sure if we went around the room, we all have different stories of how your organization, the current organization that you're with, or perhaps others that you are familiar or working with, have been impacted over the last several years by such a major shift to the workforce. And so today, our group is going to be talking about moving from concept to culture. So while we're here, we do also have a poll. And so I'll have the team bring up the polling questions. And we just want to get to know a little bit about who's in the room today. And so the first polling question is, what role do you play in employee engagement? So we have a few different responses here for you to choose from, multiple choice. And I'm sure at every level, you probably have some impact, but we have some specific titles, roles here that are listed. And so again, this will help guide our conversation today. And then this is completely anonymous. But as we see the responses coming in so far, we have a handful. It looks like prospective organizer or support is leading thus far. But we'll take a few moments here just to allow the tally results to come in and get a feel for who's in the room and what levels are you working today. And again, our presenters will be opening it up for your feedback and even some questions throughout. We'll be monitoring the chat for various comments that come up throughout today's session. Well, we're excited. Well, also want to encourage you all, this is a 90-minute presentation to stay until the end because we actually have a special raffle. We're giving away some prizes at the end of today's session. So if you stay until the end, the raffle will include all of the names who are currently in the session at the time, not those who registered or who showed up at the beginning, but those who are currently present at the time that we end today's session. We will have a raffle and we'll be giving away a bundle of KRA swag and some really good reading material as well, focused on leadership. So make sure you stay until the end of today's session. All right. Well, with that being said, I'm going to hand it off to Zaskia Ruiz, the Executive Vice President and COO of KRA Corporation.
Well, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Good day, depending on where you are in the U.S. For those of you that are experiencing that storm that has hit a lot of the East Coast, I hope you're safe. And I'm sorry to hear that some people will be missing today's presentation because of connectivity issues due to the snowstorm. But anyhow, I hope that you're well and that you're safe. We're excited to hear from you today. We're excited to discuss this very important topic. I think more than ever, employee engagement is really important in any organization that wants to have a thriving mission. My name is Zaskia Ruiz, current Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer. If you have joined previous sessions, you have heard from me before. In my current role, I oversee accounting and finance, people and culture, is essentially our HR department, marketing and communications, and work very closely with our operations and business development teams. So again, excited to be here. People management is one of my favorite areas. I always look forward to learning new ways of finding, methods that we can try and employ to ensure that we're having a very healthy culture for our team. So with that, I'll transfer it over to my colleague Kalandria for her to introduce herself.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. So excited that you all are joining us. My name is Kalandria Thompson. I am the Director of People and Culture here with KRA. In my role, I oversee the HR department. So, of course, everything that you could think of related to HR benefits, training, development, engagement, all of those things fall under my purview. I have been with KRA now 2 years, so excited about this continued opportunity and the chance that I get to spend and share knowledge with you all about the topic as it relates to building concept to culture, and creating what your engagement looks like within your organization. So excited. We're going to get to spend some time together. Look forward to the engagement. We want to hear from you, so definitely don't shy away from commenting in the chat room. And sharing any of your experiences with us. So I will pass it off to my colleague, Ms. Ryan Rand, and allow her to introduce herself.
Thank you, Kalandria. Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon. It's great to have you on our session today. I am Ryan Rand. I'm the Engagement and Development Specialist for KRA. So I am part of the People and Culture team with a large focus on the engagement of our staff, the culture, and the ongoing development of every level of our teams. I will also let you know I am experiencing some of the storm winter related issues over here in Texas. So please excuse me as I may be off camera and in and out throughout our session, but I am so grateful to have you all here and I hope you enjoy what we have prepared for you today.
Okay, next slide, please, Kalandria. So today we are going to be looking at some disengagement trends and statistics. We're going to be looking at how do we measure disengagement or engagement for that matter, establishing an employee engagement committee. You may call that something else in your organization. How we're able to fund those initiatives, engagement beyond those initiatives. We're also going to look at some qualitative and quantitative improvements that we can expect to see because of these efforts. Challenges with keeping employees engaged. Moving forward, we always have to be ready to pivot, turning challenges into lessons learned. And then depending on how much time we have left, we will also have a Q&A. Next slide. So employee engagement, why does it matter, right? So why is this important? So feel free to chime in the chat as to why do you think employee engagement matters? Why is this important to any organization currently that has employees? Why would we say employee engagement matters? So anyone that's willing to put in a few words in the chat, please feel free. Morale, yes, top of the list. Thank you so much for that. The morale is very important. All right. Well, that's one of the great reasons, of why we would want to have a good, ensure that our employees are engaged at work. Let's go to the next slide. All right, so let's take a step back from the time of the pandemic. And for those of us that have been in the workforce for quite some time, we remember several trends, but one of the recent trends that we can go back to was the pandemic that in the US started in 2020. And we followed that with the Great Resignation. We saw mass voluntary quits as workers were evaluating priorities. We saw people were burnt out. They were looking for work-life balance. There was remote work was on an uptick. Wages were, improving. So they started to move. We saw individuals move from one industry to another, which caused talent shortages. Again, as I mentioned, we had the wage hikes and the adoption for the first time in many of organizations of the remote and hybrid environment. So that's what we saw during the Great Resignation, during the pandemic years. Then we saw the Great Detachment, right? So the Great Detachment followed, and that is basically the emotional disengagement during employment. So employees were still burnt out. They were quiet quitting. And if you've heard that term, that means that they're still employed, they're still on your payroll, but they're not producing, right? They are, the promises of flexibility are not working out. There is low productivity, risk, mental health initiatives also are on the rise to combat some of this disengagement and this detachment. Now we are moving into what's known as job hugging. And job hugging is basically employees now clinging to jobs because of economic uncertainty. So we saw the mass layoffs in many large corporate organizations and also within the federal government. So now we have inflation and we have these other key drivers that the habits of individuals is kind of like, let's stay put. That's what we're seeing now. More individuals are starting to, stay put, stay at the current position, even if they are experiencing burnout or they're disengaged. The career mobility has slowed down. So we're seeing in most cases less turnover, but we're also seeing less creativity, less innovation. So these are some of the aspects of what's going on. While we may have employees wanting to stay employed, we're not really getting that innovation, productivity that we're seeking as an employer. Let's move to the next slide, Kalandria. All right, so let's look at what disengagement looks like. If you don't follow Gallup on social media or read any of their books, I will truly encourage you to follow Gallup and to read their publishings. They kind of lead the industry in this particular topic. So according to Gallup, 59% of employees are disengaged during the Great Detachment. Managers account for 70% of the variance in team engagement, making leadership the single biggest factor. Okay. And, we always heard the term that employees don't quit jobs, they quit managers. And here we have 70% of the team disengagement has to do with how they're being led by their manager. As of 2024, almost nearly 2 years ago, only 27% of managers are engaged at work. So again, if you have disengaged leadership, you're going to have some disengaged. Their teams are going to be disengaged. Disengagement costs the economy about $8.8 trillion annually in lost productivity. It takes longer to do things. We're having more errors. We're not meeting our goals. Teams with low engagement have 18% lower productivity and higher absenteeism. Okay. High employee engagement collaborates with higher turnover rates also in organizations. And sometimes we see employees just going on a leave, just trying to get away from, any way possible to, get away from work. Let's move to the next slide, Kalandria. So how is engagement measured? How do you know, if you were to do a checkup in your organization, how would you know how engaged your employees are? Okay. Some of the things that you can look at is productivity, right? And innovation. Are our employees consistently meeting and exceeding the goals that are set out for them and their expectations? That's stop number one. So are we having the productivity that we're expecting? Um, Absenteeism. I hope everyone is tracking that. We can track for patterns of unplanned absences that may indicate disengagements or just reluctance to come to work, right? So we're looking at absenteeism rate. Most companies may establish what an acceptable absenteeism rate is for the year, and you can use that as a benchmark to determine if some employees are being absent more than others. Manager satisfaction. So in our case, we monitor the number and nature of complaints filed by employees against managers with HR, in our case, people and culture. So are we seeing, going back to the previous slide, where leadership, our direct managers, have a lot to do with the engagement piece of employee engagement. So again, measuring how many complaints are we getting? What are the nature of those complaints? Are employees satisfied with their managers? Participation rates. When you are hosting meetings, important initiatives for the company, are employees showing up? Are they participating? Are they engaged? Are they contributing to innovation? Are they contributing to new ideas? Overall satisfaction. And there are multiple ways to measure overall satisfaction. One of the traditional methods is to collect survey and to administer surveys, do stay interviews. So looking at, are employees satisfied with their job? Are they engaged based on their overall satisfaction? We also look at the disciplinary actions, reviewing, how many write-ups we're doing, or how many employees are on a performance improvement plan or other corrective measures. So we're looking at those things. From my viewpoint, I'd rather spend money on engagement than on discipline, than on legal fees, right? So let's invest in being, more proactive than reactive when it comes to employee engagement. Next slide. All right, so I'll hand it over to Ryan.
If I can get and keep myself unmuted. There we go. So for our forming of our employee engagement committee, one of our first major steps was to provide a poll to our staff and gauge their interest. So you can see those results in that bottom right corner. Would you be interested in participating in an employee focus group? That's what you'll see maybe if you have a similar group in your organization, maybe called a focus group. We had a large majority of staff interested in this program, and we move forward as part of a 3-part engagement and culture strategy for our company. And narrowing in on the formation of the committee itself, we can see a few things to the left in our bullet points here for the committee purpose. A big part of the purpose was that number one bullet point, that morale and the opportunities for engagement, especially if you have teams that are not together in person in the same office every day, forming those bonds, that engagement across teams, across states is really important for a company and for the mental health and connectivity of the staff. We can see a few more aspects of the purpose for us of why we created our employee engagement committee and the following steps to getting a foundation of that committee, the leadership, the budget, letting the staff know, making sure everyone is well informed. Also along those lines, well informed on the expectations and the purpose of the committee. So having this kind of focus group, you really want those individuals in the group that are passionate about the mission and interested in helping form that engagement with their colleagues. Next slide, please, Kalandria. This is a little collage for you, just of some of our employee engagement committee events over the past year or so. They can range from really, really simple to a little more complex. Just to give you a quick idea here, we see things like a collaborative playlist that we had everyone in the company gave them the opportunity to contribute to. We had a pink out day for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We celebrated Be Kind to Humankind Week and had different events every day. For one of those days for Wellness Wednesday, we had a specialist in meditation and breathing come in to give our staff a few sessions. And then things like those holiday activities, having a holiday party, an ugly sweater contest, those small things can really make a big difference in the day-to-day engagement, interest, motivation of our employees. Kalandria, next slide, please. And I think I'm handing it back to Zaskia. You're muted, Zaskia.
Thank you so much. So the other part of this is how do we fund this, right? If you're not a large corporation or if you are in the industry that KRA is in, which is the workforce development industry, or if you're a nonprofit and you may have very, small budgets for these type of expenditures, we have to get creative about how do we fund employee engagement initiatives. And first, you would want to look, at your current resources, your health providers, whether you have Blue Shield, Blue Cross, Cigna, whoever your providers are. Most of the time, they're going to offer some kind of resources available to your organization. So you want to tap into those resources. That could be wellness dollars. It could be courses or speakers that they can provide for you. So again, you want to look at that. Look at what's available through your things that you're already paying for. You can source different speakers to come in and do motivate the team, or industry experts based on leadership's network. You may be able to look at some of those things. Also looking at experts and looking at others in the industry that could, be of good influence to the organization, to the employees in the organization. So you definitely want to get creative. And another thing that we have established at KRA, we do have, other than what I'm calling the in-kind or the leverage resources type of initiatives, we also do have a budget. And the budget goes a long way. Little things go a long way. But again, you want to start with what can you leverage first, and then going to maybe setting up a budget per person per year. Next slide, please. So these are also, Ryan spoke about a lot of the initiatives that we had, such as the company cookbook. We had a gift exchange through Elster. We also used Terry Berry as our engagement platform. The playlist was made with Spotify. We had a virtual booth. We used surveys through our existing platform, Question Pro. So again, there's a lot of tools out there that are very inexpensive that you can tap into to leverage technology to manage your employee experience. So again, just another way, but also keeping in mind that we do want to be intentional and setting an annual budget per person. I believe it's going to be a great investment for any organization. Next slide.
All right, I think this one is for me.
Mhm, mhm,
All right. So we've talked about, kind of why we are here, what is the purpose. We've talked about ways that we can fund this particular initiative. So how do we get started? We've gotten some foundational knowledge on, where do we begin? How do we, determine interest? What are some things that we can use or some tools or resources that we currently have? Now we want to think about what is going to be the benefit, right? So, what is the benefit to our staff, to our company for making this type of investment in our culture? So, think about the ways that we can grow and develop our staff. For KRA, one of the things that we sought was opportunities for them to have more chances to engage with experts. One of the things that we definitely try to do is keep our leadership in a place of accessibility, provide them mentorship when opportunities arise, give them the chance to connect with people that they may not normally engage with on a regular basis. That was kind of the idea when we put on the Women in Workforce panel, an opportunity for them to hear from experts in the industry within the company who had insights into kind of why they chose the path that they chose, how they got there, provide some nuggets and some encouragement to the staff so that they too could find themselves or see themselves in potential leadership roles or continuing to grow. So that is one of the things that we try to do is make sure that not only are we just trying to keep them engaged in terms of connected to the company itself, but also engage with their own growth and development and making sure that they have opportunities to continue to grow within the company, both personally and professionally. Offering opportunities like conferencing and networking opportunities. We know that, within multiple industries, conferences are kind of like um, the holy grail of where you go to kind of get some foundational knowledge, to meet and network with other people in the industry, sharpen the saw, stay close to somebody who is also in the industry who may know more, where you can continue to grow and challenge yourself in that way. One of the initiatives that we had was being able to send members of our EEC to a conference. They got an opportunity to network. They set a booth, as you can see in the picture in the below, where they were able to be the representatives of the company and share their experiences and knowledge about the work that we do with others, but also get an opportunity to attend courses and classes that were relevant to the work that they were doing so that they could continue to gain that knowledge. So not only are they getting kind of like the opportunity to become more of a in front person for KRA, they're also getting that and that development for the work that they're doing so that they can continue to grow. Uh, One thing that is, of course, always important with anything is recognition and incentives. We recognize that the more we recognize our staff, the more we reinforce the importance of their growth, their development, and the importance of the work that they're doing. So definitely want to establish some form of a recognition process. For us, these are a couple of things that we did, but we also include things like kudo points. Kudos is our recognition platform that we utilize not only as a shout out to the staff and the company as a whole, but it's also a way that the leaders can pat their staff on their back for doing things that are either above or beyond or that we feel like need to be highlighted. But it's also a way that the employees can pat their colleagues on the back. So it's not just, from leader to subordinate, but also just, across the board. If you, were touched by somebody who don't normally work with, that you feel like they need a pat on the back or pick me up, a way to communicate positive thinking. That is what our kudos platform is. And then they get to earn points as well that they can then use to shop for their own self-recognition gifts in the online shopping store. So we also provided a stipend for our employee engagement committee members. They receive $50 per month. They do have to spend an estimated 4 hours a month, both attending meetings and participating in the various events that they are ultimately in charge of putting on for the staff. So those are just some ways that we try to find to both incentivize, but also to invest in the staff as a form of keeping them engaged. So it's also important that we make sure that the staff are staying connected and that they continue to be engaged beyond our initiatives. So this is not, just we do this for a couple of months out of the year. This is a 365, 12-month process, right? We want to make sure that we are continuing the engagement even beyond just the initiatives that we might be putting on, whether it be each month or for just very specific events throughout the year. So other ways that we are measuring and keeping a tabs on our engagement are through our feedback surveys. We definitely want to always hear from our staff because at the end of the day, they are the ones who we are doing all of this for, right? And what benefit is it if they don't have some say? So we definitely want to make sure that we are hearing from them, not just on the ways that they want to be engaged, but also hearing from them about their experience as a whole. So in our first 30, 60, 90 days of bringing on a new employee, we're going to tap in with them at 30, at 60, and 90 and provide them a survey where they can give us some feedback about their onboarding experience. Do they understand the role that they are working in? And is there any support that they need, as well as making sure that they have received the support that they need? We are also looking at making sure that their overall experience in those first 30 to 60, 90 days was one that matches what we as a company set out for it to be. So is their workspace ready? Did they receive clarity about expectations? Are there any areas of opportunity or any challenges or even strengths that we want to highlight or make sure that we are addressing? So all of those things are some of the information that we are trying to gather within those feedback surveys. We also do the employee experience survey. So this is a survey that we do annually. The Employee Engagement Committee has some input into what this survey looks like each year. What questions do we need to be asking? Are there certain opportunities that we need to be offering? That's the kind of information we look to gather from our experience survey. And it ranges from everything from, their overall experience to the engagement opportunities that we have provided. Are there other suggestions? How do you feel about your senior leadership? Is the company culture what we said it is? Is there growth and development that you need or you want? And then just as an employee as a whole, your satisfaction, taking all things into consideration, how satisfied are you with your experience here? So these are initiatives that we continue to put on to make sure that we don't just think about engagement when we're putting on like these, like Ryan mentioned, the playlist. What are we doing outside of the playlist? How are we doing as a company when there's not some activity or event going on? Making sure that we are keeping the engagement going 365. Some other ways that we make sure that we are checking in and we are getting the feedback that we need are doing site visit and stay interviews. As a department, we visit our sites annually to connect with the staff and do stay interviews where we're asking them those tough questions about their, about their experience. What keeps you coming back? What is the thing that, it would be make or break for you today that would determine if you would walk away? Is there anything that we could do to make sure that you continue to choose KRA day after day? As well as an opportunity because we are a virtual team, making sure that this is a chance where we can build the connection with our staff beyond the Teams meetings or the Zoom meetings, because we are putting ourselves in a place of being a resource, want to make sure that people are comfortable connecting with us. And sometimes that's hard to do when you're talking solely through the computer screen. So we do try to get out at least once a year, get on site, connect with the staff in a more personal way, as well as take the time to get as much feedback as we can. Unfortunately, there's always the time where our working relationship, has to come to an end. Just because you are departing doesn't mean we still don't want to hear from you. We want to know where, what was the reason? Why did you leave? And then go back into clarifying what areas of opportunities may exist that we need to be considering moving forward. Where did we hit the mark? Are there areas where we can celebrate and say, well, we did, our best there? And then if employees were not satisfied, let's talk about what we can do so that the next person has a better experience. So we are, you know, grabbing as much feedback from the staff as we can from beginning to end. The engagement doesn't stop necessarily just because you decided that maybe KRA was no longer where you want it to be, or if another opportunity arose, we still want to know how can we continue to improve and keep that engagement going. All right. So some of the other things that we want to, of course, take a look at are going to be the metrics. Metrics are always the go-to, right? How do we make a case, a business case for what we are doing, right? Because we can't just go to our leaders and say, hey, we're having fun. The staff are getting to do some really cool things and everybody's just happy. That's not really what I think the CEO is going to want to hear. He's going to want to know, what is the purpose? What are you, how do I know that these things are working? What are the benefits that I can expect to see from the engagement activities and the culture shift that we are making? So you always want to be able to find ways to pull numbers, pull data, pull metrics so that you can create that case. Some of the areas that you can look at are overall job satisfaction. As we mentioned, that is one of our big questions on our engagement survey. So that has a numerical value. What does that look like? The employee net promoter score. That particular item also has a numerical value, and it is talking about how likely are you to promote KRA to your colleagues, your family, your friends, the people who matter to you most. How often or how likely are you willing to promote KRA? That has a numerical value. Um, Time for staff to complete mandated tasks. How quickly are we getting these things done? Not only that, how much of our staff are getting them, getting it completed in those time frames? Engaged staff are more likely to complete tasks in a more time efficient manner than those who are not. Because if I'm not engaged, then do I really care what you're asking of me? At this point, I'm just pretty much biding my time, right? Um, Employee participation rates. How many of our staff are participating in these surveys that we are putting out there? How often are they feeling comfortable with providing us feedback? Um, the initiatives that we have shown you that we've put on, how many people are actually engaged in those initiatives? That's important. Performance scores, of course, are going to be the top of the list, right? Are we seeing the performance of our staff improving because they are engaged? And there should always be a direct correlation between the two. Um, Unless there is some other unique circumstance, but definitely we should be seeing some change in our average performance scores as our staff become more engaged. And then, of course, absenteeism and turnover should also be being directly affected. So these are all the areas that you're going to want to look at to see how you can build that business case for a either engagement initiative, that focus group. These are the things that you're going to report. And it looked like, I'm so sorry, Roxanne, that you may have had your hand up. Please feel free to unmute yourself if you still have a question.
They won't be able to unmute themselves. Actually, if you would like to come off mute, though, please feel free to either raise your virtual hand. So click that little button in your menu bar that says raise with the hand above it, or go ahead and make a comment in the chat and we'll go ahead and unmute you.
If you will unmute Roxanne Bivens, she did have her hand up for a while, and I do want to give her an opportunity. And I'm so sorry, Roxanne, if you felt like I was ignoring
you. Thank you, Roxanne. Raising your hand again made it much easier to find you. There we go. You are, your mic is allowed. You may still need to unmute yourself.
Okay. Also, I didn't feel slighted. Well, it was okay. I just, when you do the employee feedback surveys, like I've heard in the past where like, yes, leadership says it is anonymous, but they're like, I mean, but really we know who's sending in what, which is off-putting when, you feel like maybe you're in an environment where you can't speak up and about how you're really feeling in the workplace. So what are other methods, I guess, besides, somebody in HR or your ED receiving the feedback so that it's actually anonymous?
So Ryan, I'll let you answer that question because this is a challenge that we have had for many years. So I'm going to let Ryan answer that for you.
Thanks.
Absolutely. Roxanne, I'm so glad that you asked this question. It's a fantastic question. I will tell you a little bit about how we have tackled that, but we do still house that within HR. So that is a little bit of a difference to your question. We do still keep the information, the feedback. It goes to HR. It's only accessible by HR. So I'm not sure if you were specifically interested in having that feedback go to someone else, but I'll tell you just a little bit about how we safeguard that. So there's only actually me, Kalandria, and Zaskia, I believe, are the only people in the company who have access to the platform where we gather this data on the employee experience survey, where those responses come to. I have taken multiple measures on the back end to try to make employees feel more safe providing data. For example, in our system, we use Question Pro. We can actually turn off the location data feature so that it's not noting where that submission came in from. We aren't asking the employees any self-identifiable information. And also the majority of questions are optional. That helps as well. The majority of questions are also multiple choice. So typically when we see people trying to maybe figure out or get an idea of who said what, that's of course much harder to do when it's only multiple choice questions. But that also leaves that individual up to deciding how much information they want to put in those open-ended questions. So they can kind of control how much they're telling. And then I'd say one of the biggest, the thing that has made the biggest improvement so far is every year before we launch this survey, we have a live meeting with staff, either at, part of a town hall or part of another event, but a quick meeting with staff to give them a run through of what our system actually looks like on our end. So I have a little slideshow that gives them screenshots of what I see within Question Pro so that I can show them, hey, look, this response is not connected to any other response. This response, we're seeing in a group. We're looking at the data, the charts. We're not, looking at that individual data that is also turned off. So I think a huge part of it is being transparent with staff. That's something that we've seen year after year when we continue with that transparency and we continue with just really showing them and being true to what we're saying, really showing them that we've turned off these features. This is what we're using to get this data. And then also, this is what we're going to do with your feedback. So coming back to them a few months later and saying, for those that did participate, these were some of the results. We don't have to share them all, but some of those big numbers like overall employee satisfaction. We share that result every year with our whole team, along with a few other major responses, major data points, to also, again, promote that transparency, let employees know why we're asking them for all this feedback, and show them that we're really using it to improve their day-to-day work life. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, that was really helpful. And I just want to be clear that this is not happening at my current company.
Sure. Got it. Okay, well, great. Does anyone else have any other questions? That was really great. Thank you for asking that. All right, I'll hand it back over to you, Kalandria.
Right, thank you. I think one more thing to try to help with that is building the relationship between HR and staff. That's kind of one of the other things that we try to do is humanize HR and make sure that people do feel connected and comfortable enough to communicate with us in that way as well. So that, takes a lot of time as well. It's just kind of trying to build that relationship, which is, part of the reason why we do like the site visits so that, they can see us in a different scenario, in a different light. And then also to participating in activities, if they can see upper leadership participating in events and activities, that too also can kind of humanize them and make them a little more relatable as well. So we try to do those things as well. All right. All right, so qualitative, how do we determine the quality of the efforts that we're making, right? Employee engagement is definitely a key driver of improved performance in your organization. So some of the areas you can expect to see improvements include, of course, we discussed motivation and productivity, job satisfaction, better customer service, because of course engaged employees are happy employees, and happy employees are more than likely to share that happiness with the clients that they encounter, right? So we definitely expect to see our employees providing better customer service as they are engaged. Improved innovation and creativity. When you take people and you put them in a place to where they feel energized and they feel excited about the work that they're doing, they're more likely to be innovative and creative and come up with some very unique ideas that you may be surprised about. Keeping them involved helps them to be more creative and get to thinking outside of the box. So that's always a win-win, especially if you are trying to figure out, how do we change the status quo? What is something that we can do that's new and innovative? How do we change kind of like the old way we've done things and come up with newer, either more efficient or effective ways? And engaged staff are likely to be as innovative and creative as you could imagine. So definitely keeping them engaged and giving them an opportunity to provide insights and thought into kind of some of our more challenging problems often surprises us all that it's kind of easier to come up with a solution because now you're getting everyone's perspective, right? stronger teamwork and collaboration, that building that sense of team within the company, but also within the individual projects is important because we spend a lot of time with our coworkers, right? We spend a lot of our hours in a day alongside this group of people. So if we are connected, if we are collaborating, we are challenging and vibing off of each other and able to work together in a way that is keeping everybody connected and energized, but also to helping us see the biggest picture, right? Because of course we're stronger together. So we're definitely getting, better ideas. We're making the day go by faster. We are challenging each other. That's the type of environment we would hope to find with a more engaged staff. And of course, higher quality work. Nobody works harder than somebody who is engaged and enjoys the work that they do, but also the manager that they're working for. Um, I cannot tell you how hard I am willing to work because of the fact that I enjoy what I do and I enjoy the people that I do it with, not to mention the company that I'm doing it for. So you will be surprised at how much more people are willing to give when they are excited about being at work and the work that they are providing. And then just that overall positive work environment. Life is challenging. Work is often challenging, especially in this industry. It is changing ever so fast. We are dealing with some of the most complex issues that the humans can encounter in the workforce development field. So having a positive work environment, feeling like you are willing to come in and fight this challenge with people that you enjoy working with and in a company that you feel is committed to making sure that you are engaged and that you are supported is definitely worth it all. That is where you're going to get the best work, the most work out of your staff. It's as long as they are feeling like they are supported, they are valued, they are considered, and as long as you continue to seek ways to keep them connected to the company. All righty, and I will pass this slide off to Miss Ryan.
Thank you, Kalandria. So to get a little further into some great examples of what can come from prioritizing a really healthy workforce, you can see here the Cigna Healthy Workforce designation. We were honored to be a 2024 Cigna Silver Level Workforce designee. This designation, you can see a little bit here. I'm not going to read all this to you, but you can see here that this designation means that we have met those or surpassed those levels of being a well-rounded well-being program for our staff. That includes things like our leadership and culture programs, the foundations of our initiatives and our programs provided to staff, execution, policies, accommodations, and more. You'll see a lot of this in the variety of what we try to provide staff, really to what Kalandria was discussing earlier, the kind of opportunities we provide staff. It can be leadership developmental, it can be a more fun social connect with your colleagues, or it may be something a little more serious like a professional development, certification, or a guest coming in like wellness meditation. And this award is really special to us. We're so proud of having received this award. We're waiting for the 2025 designations to be announced as well. But this is something you can absolutely look into with your organizations as well, with your insurance providers, with those organizations that you're connected to. Check in with them, see if they do anything like this where they honor individuals or companies that are putting that work towards making sure their employees are taken care of. Next slide, please. Thank you. And going forward through the next two slides, I'll talk a little bit about the challenges that we experience when forming the EEC, but also challenges in terms of overall engagement. So there's the EEC, the actual committee, but then there are those initiatives that they put out. And those initiatives turn into what is building engagement with the rest of our staff. So over the course of time, over the course of how our world looks, how the company looks, a lot of things can affect how our employees feel and how successful some of these initiatives can be. So during the launch of an employee engagement committee or an overall engagement initiative, if we're, out of nowhere coming out with these little activities for employees, we really want them to immediately jump on board and get engaged, but that's not usually what we see. Employees have a lot on their plate, frontline staff have a lot on their plate, and sometimes they struggle to balance something that is a little more enjoyable for them with also feeling like they can't step away from what they have going on. So it's a lot of balance, and it's a lot of balance when times are changing as well. So during that initial launch, we saw low volunteer rates for the committee, low participation rates and initiatives, inconsistent commitment or follow through, people saying, yes, I'll attend. Yes, I want to be part of the committee. And then coming back and saying, oh, I was too busy. Oh, I misunderstood what this was for. And number 3, misunderstanding or distrust. So your employees really need to trust the group or the individual that is sitting out these initiatives. They need to understand that they're allowed to participate and that they're not going to get in trouble from taking away from their job, which it shouldn't take away from their job. At the end of the day, it should really help motivate them. Over time, what that can look like, those changes for what we see regarding participation initiatives, we'll see with the promotion of initiatives, more promotion, letting people know, not giving up when the first couple aren't well attended. Trust me, I've been in, the little celebratory teams meeting with, a couple people trickling in, and it can be disheartening, but it does not have to be the end of what you're working towards. This is certainly something that takes a while to work up to, and you really have to have patience and be persistent. So promotion of those initiatives and results, the results, being transparent about the results, really helps that participation over time. Calling for collaboration and frontline staff decision making. This is a huge one, and making opportunities to develop employee buy-in. Letting frontline staff know that they are important, that their thoughts, their opinions, their vision is valued. And this is a fantastic place where they can step in and really take part in those decisions that are going to affect the whole company, and really get to learn what that feels like as well, develop those leadership skills that Kalandria was mentioning earlier. And communication, follow through, improving the staff trust and understanding. I'll go back to our employee engagement survey, that EES survey, going back to being transparent, sharing the results. If we did that survey and then never shared the results, or if we said we were going to share the results and then we didn't, all of those things are huge breaches in trust, or can be, to employees who are not sure if they want to trust you or not. So even those small things, the communication, the following through on what you say you're going to do, can be huge. But what we can't plan for is the unexpected. Circumstances outside of your control will absolutely affect these initiatives. It's just how the world is going to work. People become less motivated, less interested, more stressed out when things in life are going on. That could be the current political or economic state. It could be local events or local hardships, maybe a weather issue, or something that's happened in that area, public health crises. We saw this through COVID. As Zaskia went through the data, it's so hard to get individuals really connected and engaged when they're experiencing a big change to their world like that. So again, broader shifts. Any of those can be considered those broader shifts. Next slide, please, Kalandria. And moving forward, so looking at personally for our employee engagement committee, those big items that they'll be involved in moving forward, but also what it looks like to move forward through uncertainty. So looking at our employee engagement committee to give you a couple examples of things that our committee continues to be involved in, continues to be decision makers in. And again, the whole committee is frontline staff. They are every year taking part in our culture engagement strategy, in our employee experience survey. All of our ongoing engagement initiatives come out of that committee, and our annual management 360 reviews. This is a huge one for me that I'm so proud of the committee for taking such great part in. They have developed half the questions on that 360 review. And so at the end of the day, what that really means is frontline staff are creating 50% of the form, that 360 review form, that they'll complete over their leaders. So again, it really that buy-in, that ability to be a decision maker in those processes that affect them can be so huge in making employees feel at home, making them feel welcome, making them feel safe, and adapting and making changes. So I have a little question here for the chat. What is something small that everyone can do with their team tomorrow to promote engagement? While you think about that, I'll talk a little bit more about the text we have here. As we were talking about at the end of the last slide, the world can be ever changing. We know this definitely from being in HR, but I think every other individual in the workforce has felt that, certainly since COVID. Things outside of the company's control can absolutely derail things, particularly things like engagement, when we're really counting on people to show up for something that isn't required. Anytime you're asking someone to show up, put effort, put energy towards something that they don't have to do, it's going to the outside world. Their individual conditions are going to play a huge part in how they show up for that and if they are able to at all. So remember, a little bit goes a long way. I don't see any ideas in the chat yet, so I will give you a couple. One thing that you could do tomorrow is start a little conversation with your team. Ask everybody what's their favorite place to get ice cream, or what's your favorite ice cream? Some fun little question for everyone to be able to contribute to, chat, that just takes their mind off things for a second is a very small way you can engage. Bigger ways, you can take what you've learned here to your leaders or to the people in charge of these kind of initiatives, see what you can do to help, see if you can do something for your team. Remember, there are things that we can absolutely do that are free, that are within work time, but don't take away from our work. There are absolutely ways that we can balance those initiatives without a budget or without a team already in place. So if this is something that you feel passionately about, don't be deterred if your company doesn't already have an EEC or doesn't have a group specifically working on these initiatives. You can absolutely still promote engagement within your team in those small little ways. I see one answer in the chat here. 10-minute dance party gets the blood flowing, lightens the mood, and motivates. Absolutely, Allison. That is a great idea. I wish I had thought of that as one of my examples. That is a great idea. Well, y'all, please feel free to keep putting those ideas in the chat. I know other people might see them as well and say, oh, I can do that with my team tomorrow too. So please. But moving forward in our slides here, our last couple of slides are to show you a little bit about the feedback that we've received that isn't database. So this is a lovely quote from one of our employee engagement committee members about just how she felt very disconnected from the company, kind of lost, and becoming part of the employee engagement committee to help other people really ended up helping her. And that was a really, really wonderful thing to hear from her, and a feeling that we've heard from many engagement committee members over the last few years. And here are a few just quotes from individuals in our company that we've received over the past couple of years for initiatives here and there. We see that the more we show employees how much they're appreciated, the more they want to give that back to us. They want to send a little thank you note. They want to help out with something a little bit extra. So you can just see some of those examples here, just individuals reaching out, letting us know that they feel taken care of, that they feel like they're part of a team, they feel blessed, they appreciate what we're doing. These things are small things are making a big impact on these employees. All right, I will hand it back over to Kalandria.
Alrighty. Thank you, Ryan, so much for sharing the rest of those slides with us and those testimonials. Those are definitely the tidbits that get us going each day about, why we do what we do and encourages us to keep going. Are there any questions from anyone while we work on the raffle? Feel free to raise your hands or drop your questions in the chat. Don't leave us just yet. I know we are a little over time, but we definitely wanted to give everybody an opportunity. If there's anything that you either want to comment or share, we will definitely want to hear from you if you have that time.
I just want to add that one of the things that I think makes the EEC unique is that we put together a group of non-managers. So the EEC, they're all non-managers. They're provided with a monthly stipend for their time, and they're also provided with a budget to carry out these initiatives. So I think about it like if you have to, buy a gift for someone or do something that someone would appreciate, instead of guessing at what they want to do, we have given them the power, the authority to make those decisions. And I think that's what makes the EEC unique is that they are giving, it's not just a team that comes together, they are also giving a budget and authority to make decisions on things that they want to implement or recommend. We have a different track for our leaders. And if you were here, I think the second or first session in the winter webinar, we talked about our Leadership Academy. As we shared earlier, management, our direct managers have a great impact on engagement. But this is our way to ensure that the vision, the culture trickles down to the line staff.
And one more tidbit that I definitely want to encourage you all. Feedback can be hard. So when you are asking those questions, uh, don't take it personally. You want people's honest feedback, but don't take it personally because it is definitely difficult sometimes to read, especially when you have a goal to make sure that everyone is enjoying their time and that their experience is a pleasant one. So just be, don't be shy when you get those that tough feedback because it's going to be no doubt about it, somebody that's going to be brutally honest, that is going to share their feedback. So don't be shy. And then definitely too, I encourage you to be ready if you're going to ask ways to improve, if you're going to ask for their input about what we can be doing better, be prepared to address those things. If your company is not prepared to address, then it is, I would not recommend, although you do still need to know, but definitely if you're going to ask, be prepared to do something about the information that you get back. Are we still working on the raffle, Ryan?
No, we can absolutely announce those winners. I think we do we want to do that now, Jonathan, or you want to go through our upcoming events first?
We can do the raffle now.
Okay, perfect. Well, congratulations. We have two winners, David Avila and Ellie Ramiro. So let us know in the chat that you're still online and that you'd like to claim your prize. I will shoot you an email that will ask you for your address for shipping purposes only. It won't be shared anywhere else. And we will send you a little prize package from us.
All right. Well, thank you, Ryan, and thank you to Kalandria and Zaskia for today's presentation. And want to thank all of you for your participation today and asking questions. Our goal here in providing this information is that you walk away with elements that are both inspirational, but also help to inform. And we're here as well as a company, moving forward to the next slide, to stay in contact with you. We would love to hear from you. We have some contact information here on the screen. My contact information as the Director of Communications and Innovation, really providing the follow-up experience to these webinar sessions with potential partners, as well as those that are attending, as well as our Executive Vice President and Chief Strategy Officer, Patrick Boxall. So our contact information is there on the screen. You can also use the QR code to the left. There's a very simple form for you to fill out that contact information. And as I said, our goal is to provide the information, but also help support organizations with some of the transformational change. And so if you're interested in continuing today's conversation and guidance, ways that we might be able to support, you can reach out to us there, or just to reach out and say, hey, you enjoyed today's session. We will be following up today, or from today's session, with an email that will include the survey as well for today's session. So we mentioned the importance of feedback today in our employee engagement committee, and we also see feedback as being an important part to these sessions. So share that feedback. We will be sharing the video and the slides from today's presentation in that follow-up email. We encourage you to take advantage of that. And also follow us on LinkedIn if you're not already. We will continue to share more information about our upcoming webinar series. Our next session will take place 2 weeks from today, February the 12th. And we're going to talk about digital media and how the importance in any human services, workforce services, community-based organization, the importance of telling our story. If we don't tell the story, who will? And as we are conducting the work, leading the work, it's important that we amplify the voice, not only of the collective impact that our work has, but the individual stories of the people that we serve. And so we're going to talk about our journey, as well as some best practices, strategy on refining our narrative for our audience, which really includes the communities that we work in, as well as potential agencies that will provide funding for the work that we're doing. So we're excited to share that session. That is actually the last. We're sad to see this session come to a close, but we've been able to offer these sessions throughout the winter as a value add to all of you. So with that being said, again, I want to thank our presenters today. Thank all of you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you next time on February the 12th for our final session in the KRA Winter Webinar Series. Otherwise, you all have a great rest of your day. Stay safe out there for those of you that are in the midst of the extreme weather that we're seeing, and we'll see you next time. Take care.